The mountains have always been my sanctuary. For 30 years, the rhythm of my boots on the trail, the crisp air filling my lungs, the vast, silent beauty, it centered me. My name is Eleanor, and at 58, I thought I knew the contours of my life as well as I knew the familiar paths of the state park. My late husband, Robert, shared this love, and after he passed, the trails became a place I felt close to him. My son, Mark, never quite understood it. He was a city creature, more comfortable with spreadsheets than summits. His wife, Chloe, even less so. She treated dirt like a personal affront. So, when Mark called, bubbling with an uncharacteristic enthusiasm about a family hiking trip, a tiny alarm bell, faint but clear, chimed in the back of my mind. "Mom, it'll be great," he'd enthused over the phone, his voice a little too bright. "Just us three. Quality time." Chloe found this amazing trail, supposed to have breathtaking views. A bit challenging, but you'll love it. Chloe challenging? Chloe, who considered walking from the car to the mall entrance a trek. "That sounds unlike Chloe," I said carefully. "Oh, she's turning over a new leaf," Mark laughed, a sound that didn't quite reach his eyes the last time I saw him. "Wants to embrace the outdoors more. For us, for family." Family. The word hung there. Mark and Chloe had been struggling financially for a while. Hints dropped about investments gone sour, unexpected expenses. I'd helped where I could, dipping into the savings Robert and I had carefully built, but I sensed a growing desperation beneath Mark's forced optimism. This sudden urge for a challenging hike felt staged, out of character, like a poorly rehearsed play. I agreed, masking my unease. Perhaps I was being overly suspicious, clouded by grief and solitude. A few days later, I stopped by their house unannounced to drop off some mail that had been delivered to my place. The front door was slightly ajar, and as I pushed it open, I heard their voices from the living room, hushed but intense. Chloe's usually saccharine tone was sharp, laced with anxiety. "Sure this is the only way, Mark? It feels so drastic. What if something goes wrong?" Mark's reply was low, urgent. "It has to look like an accident, Chloe. A tragic slip on a dangerous trail. The policy payout is substantial. It solves everything. Mom's an experienced hiker, but she's not young anymore. People have accidents, especially on that ridge trail." He paused, and his next words turned the blood in my veins to ice. "She trusts us. She won't suspect a thing until it's too late." I froze, my hand still on the doorknob, the mail slipping from my grasp. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. My son? My only child. Planning to? No, it couldn't be. But the cold certainty in his voice, the calculated cruelty, it was undeniable. The quality time wasn't about connection. It was about collection. My life insurance policy. The sanctuary I sought in the mountains was intended to be my tomb, orchestrated by the person I loved most in the world. I backed away silently, the cheerful suburban street outside, suddenly looking like a facade hiding unimaginable darkness. The hike was still on, but the purpose had changed entirely. It was no longer their plan I was walking into. It was mine. The world tilted on its axis after I overheard Mark and Chloe. The familiar walls of my home felt alien, the photographs of a smiling Mark, a younger, happier version, mocking me from the mantelpiece. Betrayal is a cold poison. It seeps into your bones, chilling you from the inside out. My son? The boy I taught to tie his shoes, the man I'd supported through every stumble, was planning my death for money. The initial shock morphed into a profound, aching grief, deeper than the one I felt for Robert. This was a living bereavement, the death of the son I thought I knew. But grief quickly gave way to a cold, hard resolve. They saw me as not young anymore, frail, easily dispatched. They underestimated me. They forgot who taught Mark to read a compass, who patched up his scraped knees with calm efficiency, who spent years not just hiking, but leading trips, mastering wilderness first aid, understanding the subtle language of the wild. My membership in the Alpine Club wasn't just a hobby, it was decades of accumulated knowledge and resilience. They saw an aging mother, they failed to see the survivor. My mind, usually occupied with garden plans or book club selections, became a strategic map. I needed confirmation, not just the overheard whispers. Feigning ignorance, I called Mark. "Darling, about that hike," I said, injecting warmth I didn't feel into my voice. "Robert and I had a life insurance policy years ago. Does that sort of thing expire? I should probably check the details." There was a split-second pause, then Mark's overly smooth reply. "Oh, don't worry about that stuff, Mom. It's all taken care of, probably lapsed anyway. Let's just focus on the fun trip." His eagerness to dismiss it was louder than any confession. Later that day, I made a discreet call to my insurance agent. The policy Robert and I took out was modest, standard. But then I asked carefully if any other policies existed in my name. There was a pause. "Actually, Mrs. Davies," the agent said, sounding surprised, "your son, Mark, took out a significant policy on you about 6 months ago. Listed himself as the sole beneficiary. Quite a large sum." 6 months ago, right when their financial troubles seemed to escalate. The final piece clicked into place, ugly and sharp. The poison of betrayal now fueled a different kind of fire, the fire of self-preservation. I began my preparations, not for a leisurely hike, but for a confrontation on my terms, in my element. I went through my gear with meticulous care. My sturdy boots, waterproof layers, navigation tools, but I added a few extra items to my pack, things not usually on the checklist. Certain herbs I knew from my wilderness survival courses, easily gathered, potent when prepared correctly. Specialized first aid supplies, including items that could induce rapid, temporary incapacitation if needed. I practiced knots, reviewed pressure points. My movements were calm, deliberate. The grief was still there, a hollow ache in my chest, but it was overlaid with a chilling clarity. They thought they were leading me to my end. They had no idea I was preparing the ground for theirs. The mountain air I craved would soon be thick with more than just altitude. The morning of the hike arrived wrapped in a deceptive layer of normalcy. Mark and Chloe pulled up in their SUV, plastered smiles firmly in place. Chloe, dressed in brand new, stiff-looking hiking gear that screamed uncomfortable, even offered me a thermos of coffee. "Made it just how you like it, Eleanor," she chirped, her voice a brittle imitation of warmth. I accepted it with a polite smile, but poured it discreetly onto my flower bed before leaving. Trust was a luxury I could no longer afford. The drive to the trailhead was thick with unspoken tension, masked by Mark's forced chatter about work and Chloe's vapid comments about the scenery. I watched them in the rearview mirror, the quick, nervous glances they exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking, the slight tremor in Mark's hand on the steering wheel. They were amateurs playing a deadly game, and their anxiety was palpable. It almost made me pity them. Almost. The trail they'd chosen, Black Ridge Summit, was indeed challenging. Known for its steep inclines, loose scree, and exposed sections with dramatic drop-offs. Perfect for a tragic accident. As we began the ascent, I fell into my familiar rhythm, letting the physical exertion clear my head. The air grew thinner, cooler. The forest was beautiful, sunlight dappling through the canopy, birdsong echoing in the quiet. A stark contrast to the ugliness churning within the small group. "Wow, Mom, you're really setting the pace," Mark puffed, already breathing heavily. Chloe lagged behind, her face flushed, her brand-new boots clearly pinching. "Experience," I replied evenly, not breaking stride. I knew this trail, every twist, every hazard. And I knew the less traveled spur trail near the false summit, more isolated, more treacherous, and crucially, less likely to have other hikers. "There's a viewpoint just off the main path up ahead," I suggested casually. "Supposed to be even more spectacular. A bit rougher terrain, but worth it, I hear." Mark and Chloe exchanged another quick look. This deviation wasn't part of their script, But the lure of a more secluded spot, perhaps better suited for their plan, seemed to appeal to Mark's calculating nature. "Lead the way, Mom," he said, a little too readily. We veered onto the narrower path. The trees grew denser, the silence deeper. The air felt charged. I could sense their anticipation building, their nerves fraying. We scrambled over rocks, navigated around fallen logs. I deliberately kept the pace brisk, tiring them out, forcing them to focus on their footing rather than their scheme. Finally, we emerged onto a small, rocky outcrop. The view was indeed breathtaking, a panorama of rolling hills and distant peaks under a vast blue sky. But the edge was a sheer drop of several hundred feet onto jagged rocks below. We were utterly alone. The wind whipped around us, carrying the scent of pine and danger. I turned, pretending to admire the view, positioning myself carefully, my back to the solid rock face, not the abyss. I watched their reflections in the lens of my sunglasses. Mark shifted his weight. Chloe took a half step closer to him, her eyes darting nervously towards the edge, then towards me. The moment felt stretched, thin, brittle, about to snap. Mark cleared his throat. This was it. The stage was set, the actors were in place, and I was ready for their cue. Mark took a step towards me, his smile tight, unnatural. "Mom, come look at this view over here," he said, gesturing towards the precipice. "It's incredible right by the edge." His eyes flickered towards Chloe, a silent signal passing between them. Chloe moved slightly, positioning herself as if to block any retreat back towards the path. The air crackled with their intent. I felt a strange calm descend. The years of navigating treacherous terrain, of making split-second decisions under pressure, kicked in. "Actually, Mark," I said, my voice steady, "I think I dropped my water bottle back there near that cluster of ferns." I turned slightly, pretending to look back, forcing him to adjust his position. It was the opening I needed. As he shifted, momentarily off balance, I saw his hand twitch, preparing to shove. In that fraction of a second, I didn't evade. I acted. Using a technique learned in a self-defense course years ago, a swift, targeted strike to a pressure point on his neck, combined with a sharp nudge to his knee, I sent him stumbling sideways. He gasped, his eyes wide with shock, not pain, before collapsing onto the rocky ground, his limbs suddenly heavy, unresponsive. Chloe shrieked, startled, momentarily forgetting her role. She lunged towards Mark, then towards me, her face contorted with panic and fury. "What did you do?" she screamed. "Securing the situation," I replied coolly. Chloe was smaller, fueled by panic rather than strength. As she came at me, clumsy in her expensive, ill-fitting boots, I sidestepped easily. I had prepared a small, potent tincture from the herbs gathered earlier. Concealed in a tiny atomizer spray I kept in my pocket, a fast-acting sedative derived from plants I knew well from my advanced first aid training. A quick spray directed at her face as she lunged, and her eyes glazed over almost instantly. She staggered, mumbling incoherently, before slumping down beside her husband, unconscious. Silence descended on the outcrop, broken only by the whistling wind. The breathtaking view seemed indifferent to the human drama that had just unfolded. I looked down at my son and daughter-in-law, their faces slack, their scheme utterly dismantled. There was no triumph, only a deep, hollow ache. This wasn't the victory I ever wanted. Working quickly, efficiently, I checked their breathing. Stable. They were simply unconscious, likely for several hours. I used sturdy climbing rope from my pack, not to secure them precariously near the edge, as they might have planned for me, but to bind their wrists and ankles loosely, enough to prevent them from wandering off in a disoriented state when they eventually woke, but not tightly enough to cause injury. I dragged them gently away from the ledge, propping them against a large boulder in a relatively sheltered spot. I placed their water bottles and a couple of energy bars beside them. They wouldn't freeze. It wasn't that cold yet. But they would wake up, confused, immobilized, and very much alone as dusk began to settle. My final act before turning away was to remove the SIM cards from their phones and toss them into a deep crevice. No easy calls for help. They needed time to contemplate their actions in the silence of the mountains they pretended to embrace. The sanctuary they tried to turn into my grave would now be their temporary prison. The descent awaited me, alone. Leaving them there, nestled against the cold stone, was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. Not physically, but emotionally. Every instinct screamed to help, to fix, to nurture. The maternal programming runs deep, but the betrayal cut deeper. As I began my descent down the treacherous spur trail, the adrenaline that had fueled me began to ebb, replaced by exhaustion and a profound sense of loss. The sun was beginning to dip towards the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. A beautiful, lonely spectacle. The familiar path seemed different now, shadowed by the events on the summit. Every rustle in the undergrowth, every snap of a twig, seemed amplified. I moved carefully, relying on muscle memory and years of experience to navigate the increasingly dim light. It was on a particularly steep, scree-covered section that I nearly stumbled myself. Regaining my balance, I heard a faint groan from further down the slope. Peering through the twilight, I saw a figure slumped against a tree just off the trail. A man clutching his ankle, his face etched with pain. He looked up, startled, as I approached. "Hello?" he called out tentatively. "Are you all right?" "Fine," I replied, moving closer. "Are you?" "Twisted my ankle," he grimaced. "Stupid mistake. Came out for a solo hike. Took a wrong turn somewhere, and then this." He gestured to his swollen ankle. "Name's David, by the way." "Eleanor," I said, kneeling beside him. My first aid training took over automatically. I assessed the injury, a bad sprain, possibly a fracture. "Okay, David. Let's see what we can do." Using supplies from my meticulously packed kit, the same kit I'd fortified for a very different purpose, I expertly cleaned and bandaged his ankle, then fashioned a makeshift splint using sturdy branches and extra straps from my pack. David watched me work, his initial apprehension replaced by gratitude and a touch of awe. "You really know your stuff," he commented. "Lucky for me you came along." "I spend a lot of time out here," I said simply, avoiding further explanation. Helping him felt grounding. A small act of genuine care in a day defined by deceit. It was a reminder that not all human connection was corrosive. "Can you walk on it at all?" I asked once the splint was secure. He tested it gingerly, with support, maybe, slowly. "All right," I said, offering him a sturdy hiking pole from my pack and my shoulder. "Lean on me, we'll take it slow. It'll be dark soon, but I know the way down, even in the dark." And so, we began the slow, careful descent together. Me, fresh from abandoning my treacherous son and daughter-in-law on a remote peak. Him, a stranger who'd met with misfortune. The irony wasn't lost on me. As we navigated the darkening trail, step by painstaking step, an unexpected sense of companionship emerged. We didn't talk much, focusing on the task at hand, but the shared effort, the quiet reliance, felt strangely comforting. Reaching the trailhead parking lot hours later, under a canopy of stars, felt like emerging from a different world. David profusely thanked me, promising to call after getting his ankle checked. As he drove away, I stood alone in the cool night air, the silence vast. Mark and Chloe were still up there, somewhere in the darkness. My journey down was over, but I knew another kind of discovery was just beginning back home. The drive home was surreal. Streetlights and houses seemed like props on a stage set, disconnected from the raw reality of the mountain. I didn't call the authorities immediately about Mark and Chloe. My official story, should anyone ask, would be that we got separated during the hike as dusk fell, and I made it back while they, less experienced, must have gotten lost. I'd raise the alarm in the morning, allowing panic and the elements to work on them overnight. It felt cold, calculated, but necessary. They needed to understand consequence. Back in the quiet solitude of my house, the house Mark probably already envisioned selling, a different kind of chill set in. The overheard conversation, the insurance policy, were these isolated acts of desperation or symptoms of a deeper rot? Driven by a grim certainty, I went to the small study where Mark sometimes worked when visiting. He'd used my old laptop occasionally, complaining about his own acting up. He wasn't technologically savvy. I doubted he'd cleared his history or logged out properly. He hadn't? His email account was still open. Hesitantly at first, then with growing resolve, I started looking. It wasn't idle snooping, it was self-preservation. What I found turned my stomach. It wasn't just about my insurance policy. There were emails detailing huge gambling debts Mark had hidden from everyone, including Chloe, desperate messages to loan sharks. Then, I found emails between Mark and Chloe from months, even years, prior. They weren't just planning my accident, they had systematically drained my savings account through forged signatures on checks they'd stolen, small amounts at first, then larger sums, masked by elaborate excuses about needing help with bills or unexpected repairs. They had remortgaged their own house to the hilt. There were flirtatious, inappropriate messages between Mark and another woman, suggesting an affair. The most sickening discovery was a draft folder. In it, an email Mark had started writing to a financial advisor, outlining plans to have me declared mentally incompetent in the near future, citing my age-related confusion and increasing isolation, which would give him power of attorney over all my assets, including the house Robert and I had built together. The hiking accident was just Plan A, a quicker, dirtier solution to their self-inflicted financial ruin. Plan B was a slower, more insidious destruction of my autonomy and identity. Each click of the mouse revealed another layer of deceit, another betrayal. It wasn't just my life they were after, it was my entire existence, my legacy, my dignity. The image of the struggling son, the desperate measures, it shattered completely, replaced by the portrait of a calculating, deeply selfish man, aided by a complicit wife, who viewed his own mother as nothing more than an obstacle and a resource to be plundered. The cold resolve I felt on the mountain solidified into granite. There would be no reconciliation, no second chances. The son I knew was truly gone, replaced by this stranger on the screen. As the first hints of dawn began to streak the sky, I finally picked up the phone. Not to call 911 yet, but my lawyer. The rescue could wait a little longer. I had evidence to secure. By mid-morning, I officially reported Mark and Chloe missing. I played the part of the worried mother, recounting how we got separated, how I assumed they'd taken a different path down. Search and rescue was mobilized. It took them most of the day to locate Mark and Chloe on the remote outcrop, finding them cold, terrified, dehydrated, and incoherent. Their wrists and ankles chafed from the loose ropes they'd eventually struggled out of after waking hours earlier in the dark. Their initial story, pieced together from their panicked state, was wild. A sudden attack by a mysterious assailant, a drugged haze, being abandoned. But their story had holes. Why would an attacker leave them with water and food? Why bind them loosely instead of causing harm? The rescuers were puzzled, but focused on getting them down safely. I met them at the base camp, my expression carefully neutral, masking the storm inside. Mark avoided my gaze, shame and fear warring on his face. Chloe looked pale and drawn, shooting venomous glances my way when she thought no one was looking. They were taken to the hospital for evaluation, treated for mild hypothermia and dehydration. The next day, I visited them in their hospital room. My lawyer had already advised me on the next steps, securing restraining orders and initiating legal action regarding the financial fraud. I walked in quietly. Mark sat slumped on the bed, Chloe perched rigidly on a chair beside him. "Mom," Mark began, his voice hoarse, attempting a semblance of his old self. "Thank God you're okay. It was horrible. We were attacked. Someone." "Stop, Mark," I interrupted, my voice low but firm, cutting through his fabricated narrative. "Just stop. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I simply laid a small stack of papers on the bedside table, printed copies of the emails, the gambling debts, the forged check records, the plan for power of attorney, the insurance policy details. Their faces went white. Chloe gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark stared at the papers, then at me, his eyes wide with dawning horror and disbelief. The carefully constructed facade crumbled completely. "I know everything," I said, the words falling like stones into the silence. "The accident you planned, the money you stole, the lies you told. The future you envisioned for me, locked away, declared incompetent while you lived off what Robert and I built." Mark opened his mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left to say. No lie could cover this. "You are no longer my son," I stated, the finality absolute. "And you," I looked at Chloe, "are nothing to me. I have already contacted the authorities regarding the insurance fraud and the financial crimes. My lawyer has filed restraining orders. You will not contact me. You will not come near my home. You will have nothing more from me, ever." Mark finally broke, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, please," he choked out. "We were desperate. I didn't. I love you." "Love?" The word tasted like ash. "You don't know the meaning of the word. You planned to kill me, Mark. For money. There's no coming back from that." I turned towards the door, the weight on my shoulders feeling immense, yet strangely lighter. "You made your choices. Now you live with them." His desperate plea followed me down the sterile hospital corridor, but I didn't look back. Walking away from my only child was like severing a limb, an agony beyond description. But it was also the only way to save myself. The reckoning was complete. The long, slow climb to reclaiming my own life had just begun. 6 months passed. 6 months of legal proceedings, emotional upheaval, and quiet rebuilding. The restraining orders were granted. The evidence of financial fraud was undeniable, leading to charges against both Mark and Chloe. The attempted insurance fraud investigation added another layer of legal trouble for them. Their carefully curated lives imploded spectacularly. They lost their house to foreclosure, their reputations were ruined in our small community, and the affair I'd uncovered led to Chloe eventually leaving Mark amidst the wreckage. They lost everything, not because I actively pursued vengeance beyond reporting their crimes, but because the consequences of their own actions finally caught up with them. I sold the house Robert and I had shared. It held too many ghosts, too many memories tainted by the recent betrayal. With the proceeds, and the portion of my savings the lawyers managed to recover, I bought a smaller place, a cozy cottage, nestled near the foothills of a different mountain range, miles away from my old life. It was quiet, filled with light, and entirely mine. Healing wasn't linear. There were days consumed by grief for the son I'd lost, not to death, but to his own darkness. There were nights I lay awake, replaying the events on the mountain, the chilling certainty in Mark's voice. But slowly, gradually, the sharp edges of pain began to soften. The emptiness started to fill, not with bitterness, but with a quiet strength I hadn't known I possessed. I had faced the ultimate betrayal and survived. I had looked into the abyss planned for me and climbed back out, stronger. One crisp autumn morning, my phone rang. It was David, the hiker I'd helped on my descent from Black Ridge. His ankle had healed perfectly, and he was calling to thank me again, properly this time. We talked for a long while, discovering shared interests beyond a love for the outdoors, books, gardening, a similar wry sense of humor. He lived only an hour away from my new cottage. We agreed to meet for coffee. It wasn't a whirlwind romance, nothing like that. It was the tentative beginning of a friendship, built on mutual respect and shared experience, however different. A connection untainted by deceit or expectation. It felt hopeful. Today I went hiking again, alone, on a new trail, unfamiliar but beautiful. The rhythm of my boots on the earth felt like a homecoming. The air was clean, the views expansive. Reaching the summit, I didn't feel fear or loneliness. I felt peace, a profound sense of self-possession. They tried to use my sanctuary to destroy me, but they failed. They underestimated the resilience forged on these slopes, the quiet strength found in solitude and survival. Mark and Chloe were lost in the valley of their own making, consumed by the shadows they created. But I had reached a new summit, scarred but whole, breathing free under an open sky. My life was my own again, and the path ahead, though uncertain, stretched before me, bathed in sunlight. Eleanor's journey reminds us that strength often lies dormant until tested, and sometimes the most painful cuts are necessary for survival and rebirth. Standing on her new summit, she embodies resilience, proving that even the deepest betrayals cannot extinguish the human spirit's desire for peace and self-determination. What did you find most impactful about Eleanor's quiet, calculated revenge? Have you ever had to make a painful choice to protect yourself from family betrayal? Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if you appreciate stories of strength overcoming deceit, please subscribe to Revenge with Emma for more compelling narratives.